think I know a little history on this airplane.
Okay.
But P-51, World War I or II, I'm not...
World War II.
World War II.
Yeah.
So the war's done,
Yeah.
and this
So
company or these design people are kind of building an aircraft. I don't know if it's the same aircraft, but it evolved out of that?
Yeah. So what it was the design crew, they didn't want to let him go, right? There was nothing to work on. The war's over, right? But North American didn't want to let that design crew go. Kind of
North American's the manufacturer?
Yep, the original manufacturer. And so knowing kind of Korea was starting to bubble up, right? They said, hey, let's put these guys on a different project. We don't want to lose the team. So they designed the North American Navion. This airplane was actually used by the military. It was an L-17. They used them during Korea, just as like a transport flight. So they fly like a lieutenant or a colonel right from here to there, shore to aircraft carrier back and forth.
And it's a pretty hot aircraft. I mean, we got retractable gear.
Yeah.
We've got a complex airplane, which we have an adjusable prop, right?
Yep.
So you have all the higher end stuff you'd see in a Mooney or some high performance aircraft, right?
Yep. So, I mean, it's a super solid aircraft. When they were manufacturing and then selling them to civilians, what they would do is they'd put a ladder at the end where there was no tip tanks, and they'd walk them up the ladder and then down the wing, which for the time, no other airplanes.
Nobody was
building aircrafts that way. Right?
That you could walk. Don't walk on my airplane wing.
Yeah. Even this one, they say that they can float in. Like if you crash landed in rough seas, essentially the airplane will actually float for so long before it would just sink.
Do you have a parachute out of it too?
Yeah. No. But so this mirror is actually used so you can see your landing gear, right? To make sure your landing gear retracts. Yeah. Because the landing gear sucks up. So if you're coming in, you put the landing gear down, you can actually look out and make sure all three are down. So there's. Yeah. So my dad fell in love with this. His flight instructor, when he was learning to fly, when he was like 28, had one, and then Dad had flown it a few times, really fell in love with it, and he ended up selling it to my dad. This is our 7th Navion that we've owned, and then this is definitely the best one. It's got the biggest engine we've ever had, and it's the Rangemaster edition, so it actually has a door, not a canopy. All the original ones had canopies, which is like the P-51, right? So it would roll all the way back. And
now I heard a story, I think, from your mom, and correct me if it's not right, but I think your dad's in his 20s.
Yeah.
And you've got 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
And he says, hey, Jackie, let's go look at something.
Yeah.
I want you to look at an airplane. And so there was a for sale, I don't know if there's a for sale sign in it, but so Jackie comes and looks at this thing, and then it has a little smaller sign in it that says sold, Jim Fase.
Yeah.
So he had already bought it.
He already bought it, yeah. My dad was a master of ask for forgiveness, not permission, which my mom loved and hated. Because there was more than a few times when my dad would call me and be like, hey, how much money you got? Not that he didn't have the money, he wanted to buy it and then tell my mom about it later. And yeah, literally. Like, how much money you got? Well, how much
so this is Navion number 3 or 4?
No, this is 7. This is our 7th one.
Wow. So I remember when this thing kind of popped up, because we were meeting for breakfast at Mr. Burger, and your dad being so into Navions, you start to get to know all the Navion owners in the country.
Yeah.
And so I think there was one in Florida that a gentleman, he was a doctor, had this thing completely rebuilt from end to end.
Yeah.
So I think they completely disassembled this aircraft, rebuilt it, new interior.
Oh yeah,
we put a glass cockpit in it, which is the modern avionics for an aircraft of that time, or of modern day.
Yeah.
So it's got all the modern day stuff in it, but an old airframe.
Yeah.
And then this doctor, I think, passed away.
Yep.
And then this went over a course of a year, at least a year.
It was at least a year of us kind of talking to her, the widow, and then eventually we just pulled the trigger and bought it. But yeah, this one's a 1962. But it's basically brand new.
Yeah.
It was completely redone.
I remember joking with your dad, like you're flying down to Florida to chase a widow after her aircraft.
Yeah.
Does Jackie know about this?
Yeah. Seriously. I mean, this airplane, Dad flew it back from Florida. It took him 5 hours, which compared to like all our other ones would have taken 8 or 8, 9, 10 hours. This thing does 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I think I've got 10 or 12 hours worth of fuel on board. So, I mean, I could fly this thing to Cuba probably nonstop. Your bladder wouldn't make it, but
Yeah,
you could
you could
in theory
make it.
do it. Yeah.
Freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's dirty. I need to wash it, but.
Yeah, and it's history of time. That's what's so fun about looking at this stuff. It's just not looking at it and saying, hey, it's an aircraft.
Yeah.
You know, but what's the history? Just like the little things of, I don't even know how you know that they would walk up on a ladder onto the wing.
Well, again, you get to know all the Navion guys, and they tend to be fanatical almost, and my dad included. And then you learn everything you can about it, the history of everything. And yeah, no, it's incredible. I'm excited to get you guys in it.